Good morning, Bitcoiners. I hope you're doing well. I'm loving my life. Who could complain on a day like today? It's happening. It's all here. We're having a great time. How are folks doing in the chat? Let's see. Good morning, gang. Very cool cover art. Sun is up and coffee in hand. BTC is running. Thank God, indeed, JJ Fox. Yes, we're going with the Back to the Future theme today. If you haven't seen the cover art, we did a back to China's Bitcoin future. So there you go. China back in the news. I think you're going to hear some news about China and Bitcoin today. Maybe tomorrow, but in the next couple of days, you're going to hear more China Bitcoin news. Chatelet escaped the matrix. Charlosky, morning, y'all. So what I'm basically saying is that Bitcoin will be on the menu in the Xi Trump stuff. I think you will hear something. So we're making a prediction right off the bat. Let's see. Chatelet, especially mother figures. It's a beautiful day for winning mother figures. Yes, as we heard from the Canadian Prime Minister, it was a big weekend for mother figures. For the law of the spirit, hold on, I got a weird thing here. For the law of the spirit of life in Christ hath made me free from the law of sin and death. Romans 8:2, the law of the new covenant is the law of the spirit of life in Christ. Thank you for that, Chef Zero. Blessings, fellow Bampians, indeed. C. Berger says, good morning, gangsters. Exciting day, the China visit, Clarity Act on the table, new Fed chair upcoming. Best of all, we are meeting here. I got one more for you. I think there's going to be some Anthony Fauci news today at around 10, and I've got the YouTube channel teed up in case we need to go over and look and see what's happening there. But apparently there is a currently employed by the CIA operative who is going to be testifying today at the Homeland Security Committee. So we might get some Anthony Fauci swinging from a tree news today, or space dropped. So I saw someone, I don't know where I saw it, some shitcoin forum somewhere, but someone is trying to iterate on airdrop. You know how you airdrop tokens? And someone actually came up with the space drop token, and then you're talking my language. So space drop token came out yesterday. I did not participate, but I want some space drop tokens. I don't know about you, but that's one shitcoin I can get behind for sure. I want space drop coin. It's like you get access to the betting markets around dropping people from space. I mean, I know a lot of you guys are maxis. I know a lot of you guys say Bitcoin only, Bitcoin only. I'm in that camp mostly. But if a coin comes out called Space Drop Coin and it actually does allow you to participate in betting markets around dropping people from space, I'm buying that shitcoin, guys. Sorry to say, we're buying that shitcoin. So Space Drop Coin out. We love it. Good morning, Nolan and Great Awakening crew, and happy hump day indeed. Jack 2K, it is Wednesday. I agree with C. Berger. Good gang. Citadel Daniel. Good morning, team. Bitcoin YQR. Good morning, everyone. Reporting in from the Canadian prairies. You're going to love my first fake news story of the day for the NPCs. The NPCs out in Western Canada is not going great. They're not doing very well. We're going to find out. The first story is pretty funny. Good morning, Counting Crew. What's good? Lee J369. There's a lot good today, indeed. Hide your shits teacher is in the room. A real J Fox movie. Ah, there you go. JJ Fox excited about the Back to the Future. I forgot. There's a J Fox in it. It's a great day for the Sovereign Alliance. It sure is. God bless you, crew. Jesus is King says Trump only had to go to California if he wanted to meet with China. Tony, not going to make it. No, Tony's not going to make it, CB Van. It looks like it's Space Drop Coin. Not a bad idea. Thanks for the idea, Nolan. Space Drop Coin in bio. Buy here. I think someone beat you to it, though, guys. It looks already out. It looks like someone has launched. Although, like I said, I don't think it's actually a space drop coin now that I think about it. It's just they're trying to like 2.0 the airdrop. So now they're saying it's called a space drop, right? So airdrops, that was so 2021. Even 2020. I mean, I remember a lot of big airdrops in 2020. If you guys weren't around for the shitcoin airdrop era of 2021, you're missing out, man. That was a fun time. It would just be like, wow, they were just dropping coins. Everyone was doing it. They have room for two. Terminal velocity, Tony, the rarest. It's true. You could actually put out like rare Pepes that relate to all the different capital punishments that are being undertaken. So there's like different versions of how Fauci goes down. I would like it. Fraud, she lied. People died. Indeed, Lance 2002. So I think you're going to see some Fauci news today. Let's wait and see. We shall see. All right, folks. Indeed, as we've heard, the sun is up. We're doing great on Sunshine Tech. No problems at all. And Bitcoin also running alongside the Sunrise Tech. We're doing great, everyone. Let's have a coffee and talk about what's new. Pepe's on Counterparty. Whoops, what the hell did I just do? And this coin has government voting rights and proof of landing within 3 meters. It could work. I'm telling you guys, space drop coin. Of all the weird things that I think might happen from having done this show over the past few years, the thing my wife worries about the most is if I actually meme space drops into existence, and that's what I'm known for in life, as the guy who created space drops. She's very worried that becomes my actual legacy on Earth. I don't know if I'd really complain about that. I think that could be great, actually, right? I don't know. What do you guys think? Is it would it be a bad thing to be known as the guy who memed space drops into reality? I think it's fine. I don't know. You'd see me invited to various conferences in the next 20 years. What was it like when you came up with the space drop idea? Space drop wiki page is a high honor. Shit posting space drops into existence will be your legacy, says Citadel Daniel. Not sorry, Nolan. Tech rants will be your legacy. There you go. We can handle it. Best legacy ever. I had a dream. I did. I had a dream. It was a dream. It was a dream. It was an actual dream. And in my dream, Tom Cruise was the host after what the pharmaceutical industry did to him in the early 2000s with all that stuff that he's crazy. Dropping motherfuckers from space. Exactly. And it really was that. My poor little daughter had some COVID in her lungs on a cruise ship, and none of us were sleeping well in the room. And we had, we had a deck and the doors were open and breathe. It was actually a nice fresh air. We didn't have the shitty cruise ship bad air experience. We had total amazing fresh air the whole time. And she just couldn't breathe. It was terrible. Like that's why the dream was so lucid and weird. I had to kind of stay up all night long just because I was worried about her breathing so much. And that's where that vision came to me, and I'll never forget it. Space drops. We're gonna drop them from space. Gotta do it. And for some reason, Tom Cruise was the host. I think it's ultimately Tom Cruise's greatest role. Of all the amazing films he's been in, his greatest role will be hosting the capital punishment of Anthony Fauci. I do believe that's going to be a thing that happens. I had a dream, guys. I had a dream. All right. I know some of you Westerners, I heard there's a lot of Westerners in the crowd here today from Western Canada, Canadian Westerners. You might want to know the NPC News is telling us today that can you guys, is it possible, can you actually separate from Canada? Can you actually do this, you Western Canadians? Right? Experts say it's a weak case. Experts say, could Alberta really separate from Canada? Experts say it's a weak case. So here's their case that they think is weak. Alberta separatists have submitted enough signatures to take the question to a provincial referendum already scheduled for October. But many obstacles, guys, many obstacles. There's so many obstacles. Who leads Stay Free Alberta? Who's the leader? They don't have a leader. We got Mitch Silvestri. Be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you wish for. You might end up getting a leader. So, he's Sylvester, doesn't represent who they are, something, something, something. So they're missing a leader. Okay. Again, be careful what you wish for. Alberta separatist movement splintered in. Oh, it's because they're divided in factions. Okay. While the group's motives are similar to other separatists in the province, University of Alberta political science professor Jared Wesley. Oh, he told Yahoo Canada that Alberta's separatist movement is currently splintered. They're all fighting. It's like the MAGA splintering. They're all fighting. It's not going well. They have the groups that want to kill Fauci, and then they have the other groups that say, no, don't do that, right? This is splintered, right? They got the Fuentes action going on in Alberta. Some separatists are anti-globalist. So here's the faction, guys. Some separatists are anti-globalist and think Canada represents all that is wrong with the world, Wesley said. I love how he can mind read all of the separatists at once. It's quite a skill to have like provincial mind reading ability, like group mind reading ability. Old Wesley must be a great professor. While others are strategic separatists who are using the threat of separation to carve out better terms for the province with the federal government. Okay, Wesley, good job. You're doing great up there in Edmonton. You're doing great. But separation is still a long way from becoming a reality. Wesley said secession is currently polling at around 15 to 25% in Alberta, and there is no indication it is more popular now, even though it has received more media attention recently. That outlook could change. I wonder what his prediction was for Trump in 2016, the 2020 election, and the 2024 election. I wonder. That outlook could change, he warned. He's a political science professor, after all. Once you call a referendum, you lose control over the political agenda. Okay, why Alberta separatism is different than Quebec's. The movement has been aided by the province, which lowered the number of signatures needed to add the question to a referendum and has given the platform to the separatists, Wesley said. He added that separatist strategy for seceding now is different than in the past. Rather than following a Quebec playbook of starting a new political party, they are more taking of a MAGA Trumpian approach by attempting to infiltrate mainstream political parties. Oh, that's what's going to do them in, guys. It's they're doing the MAGA thing. Everybody knows Trump is synonymous with losing. When does his stuff ever work, right? There are other differences between the separatist movement in Quebec, according to Mick Master. We got another university assistant political science professor, Adrian Davidson. Albertans lack an identity as a distinct people, she said, or a nation within another. Guys, you stupid fucking Albertans, you lack an identity. Where the fuck do you think you get off trying to be a separate country? Where's your identity? You need an identity. Don't you know? You need an identity. You need one. If you don't have it, it's not going to work out, according to Adrian Davidson from down in Hamilton, Ontario. Full of identity down there, right? I know what their identity is down in Hamilton, Ontario. We're not American. We got healthcare. We got wicked healthcare. Oh, yeah. Hey, we got some healthcare there, boys. That's what you get for national identity down in Hamilton. Alberta doesn't have its own language or stories about its nationhood. You stupid shits. Get some stories. The Quebec separatist movement is linked to a very distinct national identity that doesn't exist. It's not going to work. It doesn't matter that Alberta gets robbed by Ottawa. You're going to keep letting it happen because you don't have stories. You need stories. Right? You need to, you're just going to keep getting robbed. It's okay because you don't have a story. You need a story. Alberta could follow Quebec's footsteps and draw out concessions for itself within the Federation. That's completely within their purview. It's more like MAGA than Quebec. The movement, everyone knows MAGA is not successful. The movement shares traits with the MAGA movement rather than Quebec, such as conspiratorial thinking. That's your problem, you conspiracy idiots. Stop being conspiracy theorists. That's what's going to keep you from separating Alberta. You're all conspiracy theorists. That includes an embedded mistrust of some corrupt cabal of elites that are gaming the system. Don't worry, Wesley. We don't think you're an elite. Or don't think you're an elite, Wesley. Such thinking has made the separatist movement vulnerable to misinformation and foreign actors such as Russia, China, and the U.S. I love how now the U.S. is in the Russia and China conversation. Is that appropriate? We're going to talk about that later today. That's everything you need to know right there. That's the whole show, actually, in that one sentence. That's the whole show today. According to Wesley, a recent report from the organization Disinfowatch said foreign adversaries are exploiting the Alberta separatist debate to erode social cohesion. But I thought they didn't have an identity. But now they don't. Now they were fractured. Didn't you say that they were already fractured, Wesley? But now the foreign people are making it more fractured, but they also are eroding their social cohesion around their identity, but they don't have an identity. Makes a lot of sense. Yes. These foreign actors are far better resourced and in many ways more efficient at spreading those divisive messages than the homegrown separatist movement. You dumb Albertans can't even beat a bunch of Chinese people in your propaganda, you stupid idiots. Worse than Russians. The worrying thing to me, Wesley says, the worrying thing to me is that even if the separatist movement here in Alberta wanted to control messaging, they can't. Guys, you need controlled messaging. You need a story. Otherwise, you're not going to make it, according to the political science experts. What I love is that this is perfectly timed, right? Simultaneous to the referendum in Alberta. Whoops. Election Alberta loses all kinds of people's information and personal info in their databases. What does Elections Alberta voter information breach mean for your privacy? What does it mean for your privacy? Right? It's not good. It's not good. Uh-oh, guys. Scientists warn 2026 Super El Nino could shatter heat records. Guys, it's the Godzilla. It's not just El Nino. It's not just Spanish for the Nino, okay? It's also the Super El Nino, but wait, there's more. It's the Godzilla Super El Nino. We got Mega El Nino, Mega Godzilla Super El Nino's coming. It's developing in the Pacific, and ocean temperatures are already above the El Nino threshold. Soon, Super, then Godzilla, El Nino. Amazing. Why it matters? Why does it matter? It's a Godzilla Super El Nino, for God's sakes. Scientists say this could be the strongest El Nino in modern history, amplifying climate change impacts and driving unprecedented Godzilla Super El Nino extreme mega weather. Future risks ahead. Worst case climate models warn of 3.5 degrees warming by 20. The fuck does this have to do with anything? What? Totally unrelated to the super mega Godzilla El Nino is worst case climate models of 3.5 degrees warming by 2100. You're screwed. Not going to make it. But guys, I know you think that Super El Nino and Godzilla Super El Nino is really good branding and marketing, right? But the air we breathe here, Kate Aronov here in the New Republic says, here's how Democrats should talk about climate change. Rather than treating it like a niche issue, candidates should offer concrete policies that assume global warming is the context in which all politics happen. Guys, everything is computer wrong. Everything is climate change. That's the way to talk about it. Everything is climate change. Everything is climate change. That's going to work. That's going to be very persuasive. Yes, everyone is very concerned still about climate change. And you want to know why? Thank God we got these experts. Look at this. Scientists seek to understand effects of rain falling on snow in the Arctic. Guys, we need to understand this is big time important, all right? You know, sometimes it snows and then it gets a little bit warmer in the day and then it starts to rain and then you got rain on the snow. What a mystery. I've only seen it thousands of times in my life, but I barely understand what's actually happening. What are the effects? This is This is the most important thing happening in the world today. I'm glad there's a news release about this. I'm glad there's a grant and award announcement in the Colorado State University, and everyone's interested in this. Rain on snow events are becoming more frequent, guys. You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe that a thing that happens almost every day during the month of March or April, somewhere on the continent, you wouldn't believe that it's happening even more frequently now, and it's actually reshaping Arctic ecosystems, the communities. Everything's getting reshaped, guys, because rain is falling on snow, and it's almost impossible to understand what the effects are. But luckily, we have these scientists, and they're working on it. They're here to figure it out, right? When rain falls on snow in the Arctic, hold on, guys. The first effect, ice layers can form on top of and within the snowpack. All right. Are you following? Well, at least we know that. At least we figured that out. That's great news. This increasingly common dynamic can influence the ability of animals, including caribou and muskoxen, to forage and move across the landscape. That in turn affects the people who rely on wildlife for subsistence, culture, well-being, and income. Funny story about this, though. My dog, I had a whippet as a kid, and the game warden brought her home one day because she was killing deer in these climates. She could actually kill and catch a deer and kill it because the deer's hooves fall through the crusty layer and the deer will trip. And a dog, just as any old dog, can tear a deer down. My dog used to do it pretty regularly. I had to lock her up. The game warden said she'd kill her, or he'd kill her the next time he saw her. I basically just stopped letting her out when it was ice on snow. I should go tell the scientists about that, though. That's some pretty important field work I did as a kid. All right. Big question, guys. Big question. We get this: tackling climate disinformation with our new media backgrounder. Tackling climate disinformation with Environmental Defense's new media backgrounder. So everything is climate change, and this will help you make everything climate change. Disinformation. Oh, no, those are the disinformation. Okay, well, anyway, that's what they're going to do. They're going to help you tackle it. How climate disasters are undermining democracy, guys. Democracy worldwide. And just think, we got democracy getting undermined at the same time as the Godzilla Super El Nino is gathering speed and force. Godzilla, guys, is coming for democracy worldwide. The new report warns that elections are increasingly vulnerable to floods, heat waves, and other natural hazards. We need mail-in voting more, guys. We should just be able to do an online poll because of the weather. It's too hot to vote. We can't do that. And with a Godzilla Super El Nino, you can't be voting. You can't be going outside. When nature disrupts the vote, what? Come on. Can't let that happen. Elections are often described as the cornerstone of democracy, carefully planned, highly coordinated, and deeply symbolic expressions of public will. But as a new report suggests, another force is beginning to interfere, oh no, with the process in ways that are both unpredictable and increasingly difficult to manage. Climate change-driven natural hazards. Geez. Not easy. Screwed, guys. We get this. Oh, this one's great. This is not global warming, but it's also the whole undermining of democracy. And you're not going to believe this, guys. U.S. policy, gangs, and climate change are reshaping Central America. It is climate change. Sorry, I knew that. I don't know why I didn't see that. It's not democracy getting screwed because of the weather. Wait till you see this kind of climate change, right? Look at this. We get this story, right? American human rights organization engaged in legal advocacy, forensic investigation, and amplifying the voices of people who are experiencing and resisting repression in El Salvador, guys. El Salvador not doing great with democracy. And luckily, though, there's people resisting, but America is not really resisting. You should see the kind of stuff they're up to. You're not going to believe it. It's an evil harvest, guys, in El Salvador. It's an evil harvest. As it happened, right? This is what we find out. Those in El Salvador, right, began during dictatorships. El Salvador, as for climate change, we obviously can't pin all the blame on the United States alone, right? Although the current president is doing his best to drive us in that direction, right? Fond as he is of fake awards, perhaps someday he'll get one of the world's most devastating climate changer. This is what we know, though, guys. It's El Nino enters, right? El Nino enters. We got science on El Nino. Godzilla, El Nino. El Salvador is in trouble, guys. It turns out that not only is the U.S. historically treated Central America terribly, but its neglect of the region in our era has hardly been benign. Under such circumstances, it wouldn't be a surprise that by the end of Joe Biden's presidency, the combination of U.S. exports, murderous gang violence, political repression, and drought had led record numbers of migrants in our southern border desperately seeking asylum in this country. And this brings us to Donald J. Trump and his new best friend, his bestie, his BFF, Bukele. Here's what we know. He called himself the world's coolest dictator, right? Coolest dictator. But indeed, right, he did succeed in reducing the murder rate, right? Not through repression, but by mending the tejido social, the social fabric. He rebuilt the city center. That's all pretty good, right? That's all pretty good. Bukele claimed that such measures alone had produced a genuine decline in the city's disturbing murder rate. But investigations have since shown that he also followed it in the footsteps of previous Salvadorian presidents by making pacts with the gangs. Here's what we know, guys. It's not going well for Bukele, according to the Resilience. Bukele met with Trump, and then we found out some stuff, and what we found out is not so good, right? This is what we know. Not surprisingly, repression against the press and civil society continues in El Salvador to this day. Many opposition journalists had to flee the country. In May 2025, human rights attorney Ruth Alfaro, head of Cristosal's anti-corruption and justice unit, was arrested. She remains in prison, right? All eyes on El Salvador, right? And what do we know? What do we know? Oh, and it doesn't matter how evil your partners in crime turn out to be, whether it's Bibi Netanyahu, Putin, or Bukele, right? Oh my God, how evil they are. It is eagerness to play the strong man. Donald Trump has climbed into bed with the world's coolest dictator and the criminals of something. Oh no, guys. Dictatorships. El Salvador. It's climate change for El Salvador, Bukele. And this is why we have to face the question. 36 medical experts, guys, urge Trump's removal under the 25th Amendment. Urgent medical warning. Experts say Trump shows severe cognitive and behavioral decline, posing a clear and present danger to national security. National security stakes concerns center on Trump's sole authority to launch nuclear weapons, with critics fearing his judgment is too compromised. White House pushback. Trump and his physician cite passed medical exams, declaring him fit, dismissing the expert's assessment based on public appearances. That's what we know from them. And here we go, guys. Our last one before we get into the news. Get out of here, cookies. U.S. experience fighting Iran offers lessons for China, experts say. I can just see Xi before he goes to this summit with Trump. He's going to cut his arms and legs off. And, you know, that's working for Iran, right? You know, you got to have a dismembered leader. That's the ticket. Dismembered leader. You're doing great in Iran. Things are going great over there. All right. They're having a great time. So that is our NPC news of the day, everyone. It's not going great. It's not going great for the NPCs. You idiots in Alberta. You need stories. Get better stories. Why are we even bothering with you? No stories about yourselves. Losers. Losers. El Salvador, good for building schools and not getting murdered, but bad for all the important stuff. Exactly. Yeah. So good. Antarctica ice melting. We all going for a swim, so pack your wetsuits. You got it. Okay. All right. So Trump is beginning that big time meeting today Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna see what's going on with this. I don't want that anymore. I'm gonna shut one of those off. Let me see too if this. Oh, whatever. All right, so we're gonna start from abroad. Lots of stuff going on to set the stage first for the meeting with Xi soon. I saw Trump's plane land, and I saw a few people get out, and just before we went live. So Trump is there. It's happening. Now, the first setup here, Trump did this. Really, you know how he does these press conferences before he leaves somewhere, and he did one a really long and funny one yesterday before he got onto the helicopter to go to China. And here in this one, you can see him talking about Russia as well. So in this, he says, "Yes, I might actually go to Russia," and he says, "I'll do whatever is necessary for peace." Was part of what he said in this interview. I'll have to play the audio. It's got the weird sounds when he does them this way. But in this one here, he does say, I will do whatever is necessary to get peace in that part of the world. And here's Camille Dmitriev saying, I'll do whatever is necessary next time in Moscow. Now, related to that, you gotta, before you go to this China meeting, you really do have to do a tour of the world, because when people say that Trump had no plan in Iran and all that stuff, the plan, I think, is going to become obvious after this week in China. And I think it's not just about isolating China, it's about getting what Trump wants from China and getting them aligned in the way that he wants them aligned, which is how we're going to talk about it today. But first, don't forget that the Venezuela action was to set up Iran, which I think is to set up what's going on today also in China. So remember when I told you when the war in Iran started that I said after about 2 or 3 days, you could tell it was already over, because the only real worry with Iran was escalation to China and Russia. Getting them involved was the major problem. And there was a hint that that wasn't going to be the case anyway, that they weren't going to get involved, and that it wasn't going to be about them, and that they would keep getting their oil and they would keep getting their shipments, and that all that oil that ended up getting de-sanctioned from Russia, all the ways in which that oil flow and those economic levers were pulled during the early days of the Iran conflict and the days leading up to it, particularly with the Venezuelan seizure. All of that set the stage for what we're seeing today. And just yesterday, we found out Trump seized 100% of Venezuela's weapons grade uranium from a reactor near Caracas and shipped it to South Carolina for down blending. Done in weeks, not years. Trump is not managing nuclear threats, he is eliminating them. Next up, Iran. So truly, Iran will be over when the uranium is seized, so that it can't be used again, and more importantly, that it's used, I believe, in the season of accountability coming to America, which we'll get to later on in the show. But that's really about proving that the uranium that Iran had in the first place likely came from American sources, and we'll be able to know it for a fact because all uranium has a unique signature, and you can tell wherever it came from in the world. So that's possible. So oil is still flowing here. Qatari gas carrier loaded with liquefied natural gas crosses the Strait of Hormuz, second carrier to cross the strait since the start of the war. Second carrier, is that true? I thought there were more. The first carrier arrived yesterday, Monday. The destination of both carriers is Pakistan. So again, you're seeing traffic to all of these sort of axis countries: China, Russia, Pakistan. All of them keep getting their deliveries of oil. So another sign that there's a huge realignment going on under the hood. And here, just a little analysis. Who has the upper hand in Iran? Lee Smith here saying, excellent assessment of Iran campaign. Analysts who think Iran is winning or has won are obtuse or lying. And here, this sort of breaks it all down. So, as you know, I continue to not have any concern about the Iranian situation. It really doesn't bother me. It can keep going on as far as I can estimate. I don't think the repercussions are big. simply because what we're going to find out with China this week and with Russia means that this thing is contained to that area. And, Iran is kind of on its own now and isn't going to be able to do too much, although they can be difficult to negotiate with and difficult to predict in some ways. It doesn't really matter, I think, going forward. I think that what we're going to hear this week with the situation in China is going to change the story on that. So here's Trump again in that scrum before he leaves. And let me find it. Everything got turned upside down here. I don't quite understand what happened. It used to be that the ones I wanted were the first up, and they're no longer the first up. Sometimes they're nowhere near where I thought they were. Yeah. So here's Trump talking and setting the stage, saying that using his persuasion, he's been a friend of mine. He's somebody that I get along with. This is going to be a very exciting trip. A lot of good things are going to happen. And Clandestine here says Trump has been telling us the entire time that he gets along with Xi. So again, that this Iranian question didn't escalate because Trump and Xi have whatever deal they have been talking about for a while, as well as with Russia. Because all of this exists, you can see that the Iranian escalation that didn't happen is partly explained by and will be partly understood by what's happening right now in China. Here we see that they've been friends for a while, he says. He points out that Xi has been cooperative while we control the flow of their oil from Iran. So that's exactly what has been going on, is that America has controlled the flow of Chinese oil and has let it come from the beginning. And here we see Trump would not be headed to China if things were in a bad place. The deal has already been made. But what is the deal, right? What is the deal? We're going to talk about that. First up, you see here who Trump has brought along. So they made this story yesterday that he didn't bring Jensen Huang, and Jensen ended up flying to Alaska to meet with them. So Trump comes out and says CNBC incorrectly reported that the great Jensen Huang of NVIDIA was not invited to the incredible gathering of the world's greatest businessmen / women proudly going to China. In actuality, Jensen is currently on Air Force One, and unless I ask him to leave, which is highly unlikely, CNBC's reporting is incorrect, or as they say in politics, fake news. It is an honor to have Jensen, Elon, Tim Apple, Larry Fink, Steven Schwartzman, Kelly Ortberg, Boeing, Brian Sykes, Cargill, Jane Fraser, Citi, Larry Culp, GE Aerospace, David Solomon, Goldman Sachs, Sanjay Malhotra, Micron, Qualcomm, and many others journeying to the great country of China, where I'll be asking President Xi, a leader of extraordinary distinction, to open up China so that these brilliant people can work their magic and help bring the People's Republic to an even higher level. In fact, I promise that when we are together, which will be in a matter of hours, I will make my very first request. I have never seen or heard any idea that would be more beneficial to our incredible countries. President Donald J. Trump. So here, Clandestine saying again, very interesting. Trump confirms that many great business leaders are joining him on this trip, including Elon. But the most important nugget is at the bottom. Trump says he is going to ask Xi to open up China. Normalized relations with China are on the horizon. And given how Xi has been silent while Trump removes Chinese influence from our hemisphere, and he controls the flow of much of the oil, I think the deal has already been made. Xi is standing down while Trump completes the world's most powerful reset. The fact that Trump and the world's greatest CEOs are on a trip to China means that an agreement of some sort has already been agreed to. They aren't going to negotiate. They don't plan meetings of this magnitude until things are already buttoned up. As I hypothesized, I think we are about to see new global alliances and a change to the global order. So go back to the Iranian situation, and escalation was only really attempted by London, and was only really attempted by Europe, and was only really attempted when Lloyd's of London canceled the oil contract, which I said from day one was the most important story in Iran, because it really sorted who the people hoping for escalation were, who the people hoping that the Iranian mission would fail. It was Europe. It was the City of London. Now, people criticized Trump for a long time because on Friday he would start signaling to markets one way and then the other. what he was really doing that whole time also was shaking out the financial infrastructure, because these guys are absolute degenerates betting on the global oil markets all the time. He sucked all of that out of the system, right? And probably got the City of London folks that were long and short oil all the time based on their inside information. He probably scalped them every single time. He probably had all their quants and all of their systems the wrong way. And he continuously changed directions the way he did. Oh, I'm going to nuke them into space. Oh, there's peace. He kept changing in extremes, and you can just see this old financial architecture getting tossed around and getting ricocheting between all of Trump's manipulations. So everyone out there who is mad about Trump manipulating the markets around the Iranian question, I think are missing the real point here, which is Trump was probably, in the same way that he was able to isolate these enemy financial system players by the Iranian oil flows in the first place, you're seeing it again with his manipulation of the markets. And so China never fell for that. Both China and the United States have been accumulating gold like crazy. And so I imagine that there will be some kind of an announcement out of this about new global financial systems, because the truth is that if you bring all of these people, if you bring all of these CEOs, the exact sort of constellation of executives that he brought, these aren't politicians, they're not diplomats that he brought. It's CEOs that are in banking, semiconductors, payments. I saw Eric Trump with Jensen Huang, so that's the American Bitcoin mining right there. We're talking about everything to do with the financial architecture and these CEOs coming and meeting. So just like Bretton Woods was announced at the end of World War II, or in the days leading up to the end of World War II, it's that whole system now that is being reanalyzed and is under the pressure from everything that Trump has cooked up. So that Keynesian model of centralized debt, military enforcement, all of that industrial age financial rails that were used for that system, that's what's all coming down. So now you're starting to see this real-time settlement, neutral interoperability. It's why you're starting to see the conversation around Bitcoin mature more and more. It's why Clarity Act is coming simultaneous to all of this. And the deal wasn't really about defeating China. So a lot of people said everything in Iran at the beginning was about isolating and defeating China. I think it was more about making sure China was aligned with this new financial system that will be a sovereign first system, that will be to the benefit of a lot of the emerging world economies. If you look at places like Vietnam, if you look at places like Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, all of these places are kind of preparing for a big boom right now. All of these places are kind of preparing for something different, the builder's economy really taking shape. Not centralization, not conquest, something completely different. And you're seeing the architecture of Trump bringing these businessmen and this new system as something that will supersede the old world order and subordinate these international bodies to this new system. And Sightbringer saying something much the same after that note here, saying, this is Trump attempting to subordinate globalization to presidential deal power. The old China relationship was run through trade bureaucrats, corporate supply chains, WTO assumptions, Wall Street incentives, and quiet CEO diplomacy. Trump is pulling the entire structure into the open and placing himself above it. That is why the CEO list matters. NVIDIA, Apple, Tesla, BlackRock, Boeing, Cargill, Citi, Goldman, Micron, Qualcomm. This is America's capital stack, compute stack, consumer tech stack, aerospace stack, food stack, the financial stack sitting behind the president as negotiating leverage. The message to Xi is blunt. China still needs access to American corporate magic, American capital, American chips, American brands, American aircraft, American finance, and American legitimacy. Access now runs through the White House. This is controlled re-engagement under coercion. So I see it more as that, a re-engagement under coercion. China is weaker than the old consensus admitted. Demographics, property, deflation, weak consumer confidence, capital distrust, youth unemployment pressure, export dependence, and tech choke points have changed the bargaining table. That's what Trump did with Iran. He changed the bargaining table, but it's not to beat Beijing at all. It's to force them into a new winning situation. Trump appears to understand that Beijing does not want full decoupling. It wants selective access without surrendering control. So he's trying to force the contradiction. Open up enough for American companies to keep absorbing pressure. The Jensen NVIDIA piece is the crown jewel. NVIDIA represents the core choke point of the age. Compute. If Jensen is physically on Air Force One, the trip is not just trade theater, it is AI statecraft. China wants compute access. America wants leverage. NVIDIA wants markets. National security hawks want control. Trump wants to be the gatekeeper between all of them. And that is more or less the Mar-a-Lago Accords right there. That's the Mar-a-Lago Accords. It's gatekeeper using security. It is access to markets for tribute. And that's what he's getting here. This is the live tension. The upside is this could produce a real short-term détente. China may offer purchases, approvals, market access gestures, regulatory openings, FSD movement for Tesla, aircraft orders, agricultural commitments, payments/finance access, or symbolic concessions. Markets would like that because it lowers immediate confrontation risk and supports the deal maker, stabilizes the system narrative. The downside, Beijing is expert at managed openness. It can offer enough access to split U.S. corporate interests from U.S. strategic interests. So this is exactly what we're going to look for. It's in what degree is it a whole new system or this sort of little carve out for China for now with all these fine print and exclusions and exceptions? We'll see. China wants leverage over those CEOs. Trump wants the deal. That creates the risk of bargain that looks like victory while quietly softening the technology containment regime. The deep structure is Trump is not abandoning rivalry with China. He is trying to convert rivalry into tribute. Tariffs created pain. China's weakness created need. U.S. national champions created leverage. Now the White House is trying to turn that leverage into visible concessions, business wins, and political theater. Same strategic rivalry, new phase. The active phase has shifted from blunt confrontation to coercive corporate state bargaining. The likely outcome, China gives enough to let Trump declare a major opening. CEOs get selective wins, markets rally on reduced tension, and the deeper US-China struggle continues underneath the deal language. The real question is whether Trump extracts structural concessions. This is what I think we're interested in as Bitcoiners. And if this is the case, you'll know, because I suspect China would even make a different move on Bitcoin as a result and make it public, especially with clarity and the US system news coming out shortly. I think you're going to see something about, if there's nothing about Bitcoin, then I think the answer is more likely in this bucket, right? Just a short-term strict detente. If he extracts structural concessions, and Bitcoin would be a structural concession, it could change everything. If he gets a structural opening, this is a dominance event. If he gets purchases and approvals, this is a tactical detente. Either way, the signal is huge. Corporate globalization is no longer running above the state. And that is the big news here. No matter what, we're getting away from all of the World War II architecture, the World War II consensus mechanisms. It's all going back into these private companies, into the ones actually building. And so the international order of NATO and all these other things are failing for that reason. And so when you look at the structural question, right, just looking at clarity on the tab on order today, Saylor tweeting about it. The key language, the bill recognizes activity-based rewards tied to payment stablecoins and distributed ledger participation as critical to enabling innovation, competition, and consumer adoption. That is the path to responsible digital yield markets. And here, BitPain saying, do you understand the United States government acting on behalf of legacy banks is about to hand STRC a de facto near monopoly on yield for the entire 21st century? Do you understand what that means? Unless you are irresponsibly long MSTR, I don't think you do. But I assure you, Saylor does. All of the stuff will be players as well. So technically an oligopoly, but given the size of the MSTR lead and the impossibility of any competing entity attaining a similar scale. STRC will command the risk-free rate for the digital credit market, which is what will force China to either make a decision one way or the other about Bitcoin. Because if this is true, if this is a structural penetration into China with this deal, there has to be something about Bitcoin, because the structure that America is imposing is exactly what you see Michael Saylor asking for here, or lobbying for, or seizing upon and building under. So digital risk-free rate for digital credit market is the very system that we're trying to coerce China into joining. And that's why you're seeing, as Clarity Act comes, you're seeing all kinds of weird signals in the air, because the old system with the Federal Reserve, which is just like Trump is subordinating this international architecture to business people and private interests. When I said, using the exact same word, subordinate the Federal Reserve to the Treasury, it's the same idea. It's the exact same idea. It's this old participants in the old network, the old nodes in the old world network, being the Federal Reserve banks, being NATO, being the world WTO, all of that stuff, just as you heard from Sightbringer, subordinating that architecture to the political and private order of America is what's going on in China. And the new system will have all of these features of this private infrastructure. And here, coming out talking about how a private company is going to command the risk-free rate for digital credit is the very system that they're trying to get China to embrace. And while that's happening, right, all this is, you got Clarity, you got all this stuff. We had the subordination yesterday. It was the day for what's his name? Oh, 1 second. So the subordination, we saw Warsh confirmed yesterday for his 12-year term or whatever it is on the Federal Reserve. So you got 12 years on the Federal Reserve from Warsh yesterday. And the day that happens, Trump coming out and posting a picture of his face on the $100 bill, calling it a federal victory note. G Money here tweeting it out. A lot of people talking about this yesterday. Look at some of the symbols on this bill, though. So Federal Reserve note, it's a federal victory note. Here you say this note is not legal tender for any debts, public or private. So some just little God bless Donald Trump as well. So, just for fun, of course, right? This is just for fun. But what does it say about the Federal Reserve and subordination and mocking their bills and saying here that they're not legal tenders? So this is a Federal Reserve note. Here saying it's not legal tender for debts, public or private. Now, again, just for fun, right? It's just for fun. But yesterday as well, the debt clock, now also just for fun, a private company. It's called the US debt clock is USDE BTC lock. So another way to say US debt clock. Also changed some of its graphics yesterday. So as this dollar comes out saying the Federal Reserve note is not good for debts, public or private, what did we see yesterday? But this, a new feature, the US debt clock update. There's a new field on the US debt clock in the lower right-hand corner. What is it, right? Total cartel asset forfeiture liability. And here you have the 1913 Federal Reserve System seal, and 23 trillion trash tokens are mentioned in this new gauge. And whatever that is, it's 23 trillion and rising. So over half the US debt is now being classified on the USD BTC lock website, which is the debt clock website. That it's over half of it is in the total cartel, the banking cartel asset forfeiture liability. Who knows what it means? It's all fun. But that's the pivot that you see here. Private industry, you're seeing and I think you're going to hear something about this new market structure. And the sign that it is a new system will be because there is some change again in China on Bitcoin. And what have I said to all the youngins who haven't been around Bitcoin since the days of China and America running Bitcoin around the clock? So the 2017 market, the 2013, 2014 markets. People who weren't around back then don't understand how enthusiastic it really was to watch normal Americans and normal Chinese people run the Bitcoin market 24 hours a day with buying pressure and demand and all of that stuff going on. And that's something we never experienced again as the market changed and China changed and whatever happened. And so now seeing China and America come together on Bitcoin, I think is a sign that we are talking about a new system. We are talking about isolating this Federal Reserve cartel asset forfeiture liability, 1913 Federal Reserve. We are talking about US dollars that are not for debts or anything. We're talking about because more or less this is a debt that Americans shouldn't have to pay. This is not America's debt. This is some other entity, bank cartel that went out and created this whole thing. So fuck them. It has nothing to do with America, which is what the Treasury, I think, is going to embrace with this new system. It is something like a jubilee. I'm not sure exactly how to qualify it. It's not going to be legit math or anything like that, right? But we're not dealing with math. We're dealing with psychology here. And so severing America's ties to these institutions is more or less what's going on, because this is a pivot back to a more blue collar, a more American system of producing and doing, and less for the bank cartels. And here's Fisher King with a really good take on something we all know in Bitcoin, but this is really what's going on, I think, for both China and the United States. I think they are both trying to shrug off the effects of having the best and brightest be financial engineers for this much time to put everyone back in the real economy. So a new system is what is needed. Fisher King here saying, in a stable money society, the only thing a person needs to know is to spend less than he earns and to save. Such a society is perfect for the middle class that just wants to build a home and continue that society. And again, this is why China and America and Russia have something in common, because all of them perceive that their legitimacy will be gone if their middle class continues to suffer under the weight of failure of the old world system. And so here you're seeing this play out, right? Such a society is perfect for the middle class that just wants to do this. And it's better for interest rates to be moderately high so you can earn bank interest, because the average person has no time or inclination to engage in stock or real estate speculation. That's what killed China. China got screwed by that. It got screwed because of the way they were plugged into the debt system. And they have real domestic needs about this, because just like America, they have a problem with the youth. They call it lie flat in China. There's no spirit. There's no invigoration. They don't want to do much. They don't want to succeed because there's no point. It's the same thing we feel under fiat. Higher interest rates also mean house prices are lower because they are a place to live and not a speculative investment. The only people who win on low interest rates are sophisticated schemers, borrow at zero and make wild investment bets. If they go bad, they walk away or file for bankruptcy on the special purpose entity set up for the play. If they score, they take all the gains, they go on TV and claim special knowledge to credulous CNBC hosts. We are living in a casino capitalism society that works against middle class savers who just want to contribute to their community. It is asking too much of people to become expert stock and land investors. They aren't even interested in that. The people who say everyone is doing better, they have their 401k, are really promoting an extractive industry of people who go around as salesmen to convince folks to give them their money to invest, often bad products. Insurance companies, for instance, try to convince people to buy life insurance policies that they sell as stock investments with very high fees. And that's exactly why and what does this person say? This is bullshit. Um, Yeah, she just thinks that she obviously, Karen Elizabeth, doesn't understand broken money at all. And so that's why they have this in common. That's why Michael Saylor is building these collateralized debt products, because indeed you do need pretty decent interest rates, because you want to make saving easy. You want to make the system that Saylor is building using MicroStrategy, using private companies, using these new rails as the system, because all these places, Russia, China, America, are more honest with themselves about what's happening with their middle class and their potential to have a revolution, really. Because if people aren't doing well, eventually it all falls apart. I mean, that's what happens in history. We don't need to hallucinate any outcomes like that. We have plenty of examples. And so when this happens, when you start seeing a new system being offered, I do indeed believe that the China meeting will produce something. It might come in the language of gold for now. I just do think that the Bitcoin part will be mentioned, because Trump brought a lot of Bitcoiners with him there, and he's been warning for a long time that this will be done by China if it's not done by America. And so, with the head start America has, with the system that's coming online, I imagine that that will be the case. So, excuse me, most home buyers get a mortgage. That interest rate has a huge impact on monthly payments. It sure does. But the question is, how much do homes need to be people's savings plans? That's the issue. The issue is, when money fails, the house becomes the investment vehicle, and so all speculation gets caught up in that, and that's the unhealthy part. I understand that the with a mortgage and interest rates, it keeps down monthly payments, but that's what low interest keeps house prices up, because eventually the person just gets the money, right? How much house you can afford, tying in interest rates versus price is the same. It's the same number. It's just a different house. So that's the main question, I think. Um, and that's why here you can see Trump already alluding to it in that same meeting. He's alluding to what's about to happen next. And this is what I've been saying from the beginning of the Iran war, that once this Iran war, which is really about exposing Europe, exposing the city of London, setting the stage for this China deal. And from here on, I said, from the China meeting, from May, from the subordination of the Federal Reserve, now the Trump meeting with China about the subordination of the international organizations, all of those things together will turn out this new system. And here Trump, and I said from consistently, probably every day on this show, from the beginning of the Iran situation in early March, I said every single time by May, you're going to see Trump pivot to golden age, golden age, golden age, golden age. And here he is doing it right away. Trump just said that America is about to surge the golden age as soon as the Iran war ends. As soon as this war is over, he says, which will not be long, you're going to see oil prices dropped, and you're going to see a stock market, which is already at the highest point in history, go through the roof. You're going to see the golden age of America, frankly, and you're seeing it now. Don't forget, we have hundreds of ships that are loaded up with oil that want to come out. You're going to have inflation that goes way down. Now, with all of this, inflation is much lower than it was under Biden. Biden had the highest inflation in the history of our country. Inflation is nothing but comparison, but our inflation is just your term. If you go from just before the war, blah, 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 it goes on about inflation. But what he's really talking about there is this golden age. And so you can see that he's out there promoting this new system. He's out there talking up, bringing these CEOs, subordinating the international order to these private interests, to these new financial players, these new cogs in the machine. While at the same time, he is spending all of his time attacking the old institutions. Here he is in that same scrum, attacking NATO. He says, NATO was very disappointing to me. NATO has not been there when we needed them. We don't need NATO. But if we did need them, they just weren't there. Trump has been pushing NATO members to pay their fair share for years. Now he's saying they weren't there when it counted. So I continue to believe you're going to see all of this stuff de-rigged in the next little while. And for good reason. I mean, the old world order is falling apart this fast. Just as Trump is teeing up this new order and talking about the new money and talking about all this stuff, look at what's going on in France, right? EU launches fraud investigation into French presidential frontrunner Jordan Bardella as his party surges in polls. They've already tried to arrest the previous party leader, that's Marine Le Pen. I think she's banned from running or something like that. Now they're going after her successor for fraud, right? We'll see about that. This is no coincidence. With France's presidential election just a year away and Jay Bardella leading in the polls, the establishment has once again weaponized the judicial system to sideline its political opponents. First, they targeted Marine Le Pen. Now they're coming for the next threat. Will the EU Commission step in over this clear breach of the rule of law? Of course not. They're part of the same establishment. We, the people, have to stand up and defend our freedom, our democracy. It's not our right. It's our duty. So there's no point saving any of this stuff. Falling apart in the UK yesterday, a bunch of Keir Starmer's cabinet quit. So here they are, 4 ministers quit Starmer's government today. Miata Fanbula, Jess Phillips, Alex Davies Jones, and Zubir Ahmed. Yesterday, Starmer said he's not going anywhere. So losing all kinds of folks here. As Jess Phillips resigned from Starmer's government. More and more of them are doing it, and there's a reason for it. All of these old world systems are falling that quickly. It doesn't look like it's going to make it. And, Trump, with all of these old world order things falling apart, that's why I think you're seeing a controlled demolition of the old world. You're seeing the new world come into clear view. And I think this is just one of those weeks where everything changes. And from there, Trump took time in one of his Truth Social posts to also attack the American media, and did so very well. And I think it also signals to this season of accountability that I've been saying will happen over the summer. Here he is yesterday saying, when the fake news says that the Iranian enemy is doing well militarily against us, it's virtual treason in that it is such a false and even preposterous statement. They are aiding and abetting the enemy. All it does is give Iran false hope when none should exist. There are American cowards that are rooting against our country. Iran had 159 ships in their navy. Every single ship is now resting at the bottom of the sea. They have no navy. Their air force is gone. All technology is gone. Their leaders are no longer with us, and the country is an economic disaster. Only losers, ingrates, and fools are able to make a case against America. President Donald J. Trump. And so saying, he attacks the media like this all the time. Right. But using treason in this case, I think is interesting, because if you look at Russia, and everything they've been doing for a long time and everything that's happened in DC this week, we're seeing indeed the case move very quickly. Here's an update from Jesse Waters last night. Now, I know Jesse Waters stuff is all boomery, definite boomer slop in the case of Jesse Waters, but I like Jesse Waters stuff. I think it's pretty entertaining television mostly. He's pretty much the only Fox guy I have time for anymore. Where is it? Man, oh man, it's annoying that things go out of order. I gotta see. It is from Jesse Waters. Okay. There it is. Got it. So he starts off with the James Comey update here. He starts off with the James Comey stuff. I'll skip a bunch of that, but here he starts going into where this is headed next. That was last year when they confronted him.
Trial set for July 15th. He says there's no there. But Blanche says it's not just seashells. There's a lot more.
I am not permitted to get into the details of what the grand jury heard or found, as you know, but rest assured that it's not just the Instagram post that leads somebody to get indicted.
Comey's not the only one in hot agua. John Brennan's seat's starting to boil. The FBI's questioning CIA officers about Brennan's role in the Russia hoax. His defense? TDS is in the water.
There's still a legion of professionals in the law enforcement environment, the Department of Justice, as well as the CIA and other places, the ones who are refusing to follow politically motivated prosecutions, those who are refusing to support any type of political activities on the part of the Trump administration.
Fauci might be swimming in the same pool. One of his top guys was indicted for a COVID cover-up. Now the DOJ is eyeing a new criminal case against Anthony, even though AutoPen gave him a pardon. Hope you got your floaties, Doc. And this just in, a COVID-19 whistleblower, an active CIA employee, will be testifying tomorrow in front of Rand Paul's committee about the origins of the pandemic as well as the cover-up.
It's actually happening right now. Let's tune in real quick to hear what he says. Here he is. Here he is. Here's the whistle. This is live. This is live. This is the new no audio. God damn it. Here we go.
And phone usage of DIG personnel, their investigations, and contact with whistleblowers. These were Americans being spied upon illegally while executing duties directed by the president and under the authority of the Director of National Intelligence. One CIA contractor assisting with the DIG's investigation into the events that transpired between 2022 and 2023 was fired by the CIA one day after meeting with the DIG. When the DIG ceased operations, the CIA also took back 40 boxes of JFK files and MK Ultra files being processed for declassification by DNI Gabbard. The legislative and executive branches will continue to be misinformed if this type of behavior is not addressed. The partial solution to dangerous gain of function has already been laid out in Executive Order 14292, improving the safety and security of biological research. We need a comprehensive review of government-funded life science research and a move back to pre-9/11 definitions of gain of function and WMD research, particularly in the IC and DHS. More broadly, we need effective oversight. We must hold agencies responsible for failure to comply with Executive Order 14292, and oversight must have teeth. You must be willing to pull the purse strings, and if necessary, convene another church committee. The results of our investigation would have been impossible without whistleblowers willing to come forward. They are indispensable agents for reform. Despite statutory law, agency regulation, and training requirements, whistleblowers are almost never protected. Whistleblower protections always seem to protect the agency. Every time the CIA investigates itself, they coincidentally find no wrongdoing. When they do identify issues, they hold the system responsible. That last statement is a verbatim response from a Europe and Eurasia Mission Center lawyer when the CIA Office of Inspector General did identify shortcomings so serious, oversight bodies were holding meetings about it 3 years after the events transpired. It was in response to the question, was anyone held accountable? Apparently, the system is good enough. The only way we solve this issue is with real accountability for failure to comply with executive and legislative branch oversight, and an escape valve where whistleblowers can continue to contribute to mission free from retaliation. All IG elements need to be removed from the agencies and fall under a separate entity controlled by the IC Inspector General. The personnel in IG elements should be 1811 certified with regular DOJ and legislative oversight reporting responsibilities. Thank you, and my written statement provides far more details related to these issues. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Erdman. Is it your testimony that there is still resistance from the CIA to comply with the law we passed to declassify all the COVID information?
Yes.
One of the things that I think is new today that I'm hearing from your testimony is that from an early period of time, you believe, and the information you're aware of, is that CIA scientists from an early time after the pandemic began, 2020, 2021, were concluding that the lab leak was the most likely hypothesis?
Yes, Senator. I'd like to offer some qualifications on that as well. A lot of the issues occurred at the interagency space, at the National Intelligence Council, the individuals responsible for conducting or writing WMD.
I'll wait for more analysis of this to come out. I'm not really sure all the things that were said, but again, we're seeing more and more the kind of operatives that are at work inside of our government. It's the same stuff that you heard from John Brennan when he was saying that there are all these people in the government that are there that are working against Trump and the deep state. And then he came out and basically admitted it here. This was the John Brennan thing we were talking about earlier, where he came out and more or less said in that interview that I showed you with that Jesse Waters aired on his show, that they come out and do that they're out and how do I put it, saying that there is this deep state, and now he's sort of trying to use this deep state that he admits to almost defend himself. Here, look at them. They got all these people waking up. All these people working against Trump. You had a O'Keefe media thing yesterday that did the same, that showed there's people in Trump's own White House sabotaging, saying Trump's got to leave. He's got to get out of there. This was one saying Trump is not helping. And this is another one of those hidden camera things for Benjamin Elliston, some kind of, I don't know, procurement manager or something in the White House, some dumb job anyway. So here you see Hans Monkey saying the key point about this guy working in the Trump White House while hating and sabotaging couldn't fundamental asymmetry running through everything in Washington, and it's extremely unhealthy. But that's what's falling apart now. That's what can't last, because even going back again to the John Brennan thing and the investigation, here's Nicole Wallace saying there are reports coming from Reuters that FBI agents are now questioning current and former CIA officers at Langley over John Brennan's role in the 2018 Russia assessment that fueled the Russia collusion hoax. Awakened Outlaw says everyone involved in perpetrating the vicious conspiracy known as Russiagate is going down and have to. You can't perpetrate a coup against the United States and not stand to account for doing so. And that's especially true after exposing and affirming its existence to the public. This, along with Comey's standing trial, will only lead to further indictments and prosecutions. Expect superseding indictments targeting them and those around them to flow from both. It's here, guys, the season of accountability. Here you can see, note, this is the official DNI agency account telling you this, and this is something I played yesterday. But again, this is the DNI, Tulsi Gabbard's office, saying the same CIA director who pushed the Russia collusion hoax for years is now openly admitting that there are bureaucrats inside the Central Intelligence Community and DOJ working against a duly elected president. The deep state was never a conspiracy theory. Just like you heard from the White House guy, just like you heard, I mean, it's not that guy's an idiot, so it's not deep state, but in the case of bringing up Trump, bringing up Obama again and again, ultimately Obama does the entire shine will come off of Obama as a result of this. That's why Obama is up in Canada. That's why he's doing what looks like desperation. It really does. I told you that for the first time. The minute I saw him do that interview about the attorney general being compromised, I said, this looks like desperation. But remember who Obama really is, right? This is Kehinde Wiley. Obama picked him to paint his official portrait. You know, that ugly official portrait of Trump, right? We've seen that before. You guys have all seen Obama's official portrait. Well, this artist is known for normally painting beheaded white people. This is what he was painting, beheaded white people. And here you see Obama say, whenever I saw his portraits, right, it was the degree to which they challenged power and privilege. Yeah, they cut white people's heads off. So this is who you're dealing with here, and that's why this motherfucker got to be dropped from space. And it's getting even better. Even the Pence folks, because it's a uniparty, it wasn't. The deep state goes even further. They're now identifying Mike Pence as the big leaker of the first Trump administration. Disgraced former Vice President Mike Pence and his top aides Olivia Troy and Mark Short are in serious legal trouble after being criminally implicated in the classified documents espionage case involving Bolton. Pence is accused of being the main White House leaker during Trump's first term, using his staff to leak top secret information he thought would hurt Trump to the mainstream media, which now has them all facing potential Espionage Act violations. The fly was right all along. They were rats and molds deep inside Trump's inner circle the whole time. This is more proof the swamp never stopped trying to destroy Trump from within. Drop a comment if you want to see Pence and his cronies go to prison. Nah, I don't want prison. You know what I want. I do believe Trump should kill a Republican first. I do believe that. I believe a Republican should drop from space first. Whether it's Steve Bannon or Mike Pence, I'm not sure. But you ought to drop a Republican first. It was like, when Trump got capital punishment going again, I forget where, but he started killing people in his first term. And the first person he chose for capital punishment was a white supremacist. You got to love that. You got to love that. Like a legit white supremacist, like someone who goes around doing white supremacy stuff. So all that's left for this deep state, the only way they can be saved, the only thing they have left is this old international order, it's media, it's all of that stuff. And now Trump, as I said, is going to spend this summer going hard on economics. Because remember, power aligns with people align with power, and power and money and electricity and all of these things are what Trump is orchestrating this new system around. So that's going to align people. And the legacy news is pretty much all that's left. And they're just simply too weak to run defense here. I mean, Trump has modeled again and again how to deal with them. He had another great one yesterday when he was doing that scrum, Caitlin Collins. And imagine this just a few years ago. This would have been the only story in the fake news. But here he just says, I doubled the size of it, you dumb person. I doubled the size. You are not a smart person, talking to Caitlin Collins. And there's not really going to be any, the so-called resistance, right? The left-wing resistance that tried to spring up in Trump's first term, the pink hat wearing people. That's a big failure. Go over to what's happening on Blue Sky. David Roberts here starting to figure it out. It's hard to avoid the conclusion. Blue Sky has not been a net negative for U.S. politics. They corralled everyone on the left into a little glass fishbowl where they shout at one another and everyone else ignores them. Meanwhile, all the politicians and institutions stayed on X and are being dragged farther right. And indeed, very telling that so many people are interpreting as a defense of X. Well, it's not really a defense. Prof. St. Owen's having a good laugh. Blue Sky has been a spectacular failure for the left. They corralled everyone there. Meanwhile, it's just not working. Progressive journalists, right? All of these people realizing that Blue Sky is not going to save them either. They're not going to win the social media fight. That's not going to happen. The culture war as well looks like this summer is going to be a disaster for the old world order and the sludge people and all that. And the office, that would normally be a way, like the movies, right, to mass brainwash people. Also not going to work. Now, compare this movie, right, which we're going to talk about for a few minutes. Looks like it's going to be a spectacular failure. Compare it to what else you're going to be able to do this summer, which is follow more declassification, because it's coming out. You're going to get the 9/11 files. You're going to get all kinds of stuff this summer. More like you saw with the UAP stuff, more of these hidden secrets, more of the government saying, we don't understand this, have a look, we don't know this, this is what happened, this is what happened. And you're going to see a new financial system, money printing like crazy, enthusiasm, excitement. And this movie here, The Odyssey, is not going to be able to compete. So the Time magazine comes up with a cover yesterday, and people are figuring it out, right? Arguably the biggest film of Christopher Nolan's career, according to Time magazine. It may also be the summer blockbuster the entertainment industry needs right now. It's not going to work out that way. Carlos notices things, says here, oh shit, this is why it's being pushed so hard. It is literally a psyop made to impress current year moral values on the past. Government agencies probably paid to have this movie made with its exact demographics. This is the West, literal wartime propaganda, 1984 tier, but not going to work. Everyone having a great laugh about this movie and how it's the end. This will be my last Odyssey post, but this may be the final nail in the coffin for me. This thing is not going to stop being funny. You put the Lystrogonians in steel plate armor, cast a rapper, a transgender, and an African to play Greeks, and are using modern slang accents in your music dialogue, in your dialogue. But you draw the line at orchestral music. So, in other words of Odysseus, let's not go. Indeed, that's the part I should have said. Christopher Nolan instructed Ludwig Göransson not to use an orchestra for the Odyssey score, and the reason was it's not like the orchestra existed back then. So the orchestra didn't exist back then. So make something unique, he says. And everyone having a great laugh about this. Christopher Nolan, orchestras didn't exist back then. We can't use an orchestra for the Odyssey. Also, Nolan, Helen of Troy is now black. Achilles is a 5'0" tranny. Travis Scott is going to rap. Robert Pattinson is going to say, Daddy. Soldiers will have iron armor in the Bronze Age. Movie will be based on modernized feminist rewrite of the story. This movie will be a beautifully filmed piece of woke liberal slop. And I've got a really funny one. I'm not sure I brought up the image, but I'm going to go get it now for you. Because the memes are just too good, and the memes are flowing around this movie, and I am enjoying it. But I found one of the best ones, and I don't think I brought it up. And it's true, people bring up that everyone talking about the Troy movie now, and that came out with Brad Pitt, right? Brad Pitt was Achilles, and now it's going to be the tranny that is Achilles, apparently. And so everyone, because it wasn't a big deal when that movie Troy came out, and everyone having a new appreciation for it, because it's true. It's like Lord of the Rings had just come out. It was kind of seen as a B movie when it came out, and now people reinterpreting it, and lots of reinterpretation going on. So this was the funny image I saw. So if you remember, Paris is played by Eric Bana in that Troy movie, and it's the big fight between Achilles and Paris. And so Eric Bana, an actor, here's the meme that people have made. Achilles, I challenge you to open this pickle jar. Very good stuff. Very, very good stuff. Yeah, here's Helen of Troy, guys. That's I would definitely sail to save her, for sure. 10 years of war, definitely worth it. Here we see Christopher Nolan is working on a career-ending failure. No amount of marketing is going to fix this. You are attempting to murder a murder of white mythology and Western civilization to undermine a pillar of the Renaissance on purpose to destroy the European soul and somehow Africanize it with diversity. Nolan is a criminal, and this movie needs to flop so hard it bankrupts the studio who dares to release it. The oddity is Snow Brown 2. And indeed, it should fail about the same. Here you're saying you are witnessing the beginning of a new era. Odyssey will destroy one of the best directors, and Homer will murder Hollywood. AI cinematography will be born, and it's their fault. So think of two things that are happening with this movie. And first of all, Hollywood not going to be able to stop what's coming. When you heard nothing can stop what is coming, nothing stops this train, not Hollywood, and it's not going to work. So two things are happening at once here with this movie. The whole you're racist because you don't want the black Helen of Troy, that won't work, right? The racist thing just simply doesn't work anymore. Here's Matt Walsh describing that. Him saying the following: not one person on the planet actually thinks that Lupita Nyong'o is the most beautiful woman in the world, but Christopher Nolan knows that he would be called a racist if he gave the most beautiful woman role to a white woman. Nolan is technically talented, but a coward, too afraid to do anything. Hold on. That even slightly. Whoa, what is Keat going on for? Get out of here. Beat it, Keat. Who says you can come on? Not me. Out. And indeed, that's what he said, right? That married Troy, the most beautiful woman in the world. So too afraid to do anything that even slightly challenges the spirit of the age. And so Evan Loves Worf says, so this is just open racism. And Matt Walsh says, it's funny that these people think they still accomplish something with the actually this is racist routine. We don't give the slightest shit if you think something is racist. The word has no meaning coming from you. So not only are we seeing the racist attack not work anymore, which we talked about a bit yesterday with Isaiah Jackson and the whole story around MLK. So that's not going to work. Take that, and also what I just said about the AI movies coming out. So AI movies and the racism attack not working. And just think about what you're seeing in LA to reiterate that these two things are happening at the same time. So first up, they're doing that thing with Spencer Pratt now where he's a fascist. So as Nithya Raman fails, listen to her try to attack Spencer Pratt yesterday. Really good stuff here. Really, really good stuff. So here's her attempt to attack Pratt, who's surging in polls and attention, and Nithya, who's cratering.
But I also think it's a very real thing that we should take seriously and we need to grapple with, and we need to offer it an honest response, a response that's rooted in actually solving these problems. Otherwise, people will turn to fascism, to mini Trump, which is who I think Spencer Pratt really represents. But I also think
Mini Trump, Fisher King saying, imagine running a hypothetical campaign where Democrats were just not allowed to call their opponents fascists, Nazis, racist, transphobic, homophobic, sexist, and so on. They wouldn't have much to say. What's his name did something fun here too, which is James Woods said, just listen to this with the sound off, and you'll see just the pure condescension and the reason why they're losing with their smug attitudes and all that. This person just didn't get the memo that the world has changed. And this is coming out of Wall Street or Hollywood, right? And so Hollywood can't just use the racism anymore. That's not going to work. They can't use the legacy news. It's just not strong enough anymore. This is the kind of stuff that Democrats are used to, and they're not going to be able to play in this environment anymore. This is the fellow running in California, and here he is on the Normie News, and another one of these cases where this is what they're used to getting, but it's not going to save them this time. It's just not strong enough, not persuasive enough. It's another zero. And I'll play this video.
This is the start of our interview with Javier Becerra in Highland Park. By the way, this is a profile piece. This is not a gotcha piece, right?
Well, look, I think these questions are fair. It's in order to learn about you as a candidate.
So long as it's about the profile.
I don't know how you define profile, but I'd like to begin the interview.
The way I describe profile is you talk about all the things that I've done, things I want to do, and along with some tough questions.
They're not going to get saved this time around. And, Karen Bass is even better. Here's Karen Bass now trying to go on the news talking about Spencer Pratt. So Spencer Pratt using the AI videos, first of all, right? So he's got the AI videos. They can't use the fascist racism thing, but they're also themselves very stupid. So here's the best attempt Karen Bass has to put her campaign back on the rails. And wait till you hear her big argument here, right? This is the logic they're going with. And I'm telling you, this stuff just gets funnier and funnier and funnier. Let me make sure I have it. Montoya. Wait till you hear her big excuse or her big story, right? About how Spencer Pratt's not ready.
How many people who are unhoused that you meet have no teeth
People who are unhoused that you meet, they have no teeth, she says.
at all? They don't have teeth. Why? Because meth rots your teeth.
Meth rots your teeth.
You can't succeed
without teeth.
So
there needs to be comprehensive medical care for these people so that they can succeed. You gotta fix the fentanyl toothless people first.
Comprehensive health care provided to people.
I'm all for compassion. But you gotta have priorities. So Spencer Pratt just doing great with all of these videos. Here's a new ad he created using the AI stuff, getting better and better. Tell me if the audio is coming through on that one. Audio crazy. I'm just gonna always assume there's no sound from now on.
I'm Karen Bass, and I'm running on my accomplishments.
Los Angeles on fire. Mayor nowhere to be found.
We were so prepared for wildfires. I didn't even have to be in the country when the town burned. I've addressed the homeless problem. Now, most of them won't stab you as long as you don't make eye contact. Our climate change policy is so strong, we've brought down energy use in the Palisades by 99%. Almost none of the needles in children's playgrounds have AIDS on them. If you like the last 4 years, you're going to love the next 4. Vote Bass. I'm Karen Bass.
Oh, we got this one too. It gets better. Pratt's on a roll. I mean, he's just pumping them out. I'll show you something really funny with Pratt in a second too that you might not have seen before. Here's her another new ad. Karen Bass got FOMO. These AI attack ads are crazy desperate.
Dangerous Spencer Pratt have in mind for Los Angeles?
I make a living giving drug needles to unhoused individuals, and Spencer wants to put me out of the job.
Spencer wants to force me to get treatment and turn my life around instead of dying on the streets. What kind of bully forces people to do things?
As a busy mom, running away from the crazy drug addicts in our park is the only exercise I get. Spencer wants to get rid of them. Does he want me to be fat?
A vote for Spencer is a vote for change. Why would you vote for change when everything is fine? Stay the course with Karen Bass. Smile, damn it!
Don't take the bait. Stay the course with Bass. What does
It's great. Very fun stuff. And indeed, just so many ads. He's doing great, right? And Here's here's where I think he's going to win. Here's Mayor Karen Bass just posted a video on TikTok with the leader of the Democrat Party of Los Angeles endorsing her for mayor of LA. Watch as I expand the comments. Holy shit, Spencer Pratt is going to win. These are the comments on her endorsement video. Non-stop Spencer Pratt, Spencer Pratt, Spencer Pratt, Spencer Pratt. So pretty cool stuff. I'll play the next one though. You're seeing a lot of these videos lately about roasts, the Kevin Hart roast. Everyone had a good time. Apparently, I saw some clips, very funny stuff. You like to see it all, rude and God, I can't believe you said that stuff, which we like. But have a look at this video and you're going to see just how funny the simulation that we live in is. And here's the roast of Donald Trump from 2012, I think it was. I think this is from 2012. And so here's the roast of Donald Trump from 2012. And listen to the jokes. And so, just roasts are in the news with the Kevin Hart thing. But the simulation is winking here. It's great stuff.
Donald Trump is such a douchebag that if you look up the word douchebag in the dictionary, there's a picture of Spencer Pratt. But if you look close, Spencer Pratt is holding up a picture of Donald Trump.
Come on. How funny is that? That he's already being compared to Spencer Pratt 14 years ago. So, that's why when you look at, here's American Debunk. American Debunk is doing a lot of Scott Adams type work. He's using a lot of the Scott Adams filters in order to analyze persuasion. He's a favorite account of mine. I guess I didn't follow him, but I come across American Debunk stuff all the time. Here he says, Spencer Pratt's word choice is pure genius of late. I love his verbiage selection. He leans hard into feel and repeats it deliberately. Liberals' entire worldview runs on feelings, subjective, emotional, and often detached from reality. It's also their go-to defense. You can't tell me. I was disappeared for a second. You can't tell me what to feel. Don't invalidate my experience. That's why Pratt's use of feel is just so good. He weaponizes their own language against them. And by centering how LA moms feel unsafe at the playground, he validates those mothers everywhere in the exact terms liberals can't dismiss. They don't feel safe. That's a problem. You can't deny their feelings. And Pratt positions himself as the guy solving it. It is masterful. And indeed, that's why he's got so much buzz around him. And that's why everyone's talking about it so much. And so when you think of the media and California and everything that's happening, and you look at this golden age starting, and you look at this news system, and you look at what's happening abroad, should all get organized with what we saw in China this week. Again, choosing commercial relationships between China and the United States will bring peace to the world, because them not escalating in power plays for control of international organizations and all this old world infrastructure means that just like Trump brought these CEOs, just like he brought these private enterprise, you're going to see a win-win in both cases. And so moving ahead, that's the reason why I think when we get to the US election season, where this is all headed eventually, and no one can predict what's going to happen. But seeing Mark Elias and others, who is also under investigation, here coming out and saying we need a new form of government because of the Virginia redistricting not working out using the old Bill of Rights note here from what's his name who wrote this, the third president, whatever his name is again. Here saying we've so thoroughly shattered, Thomas Jefferson, we've so thoroughly shattered the minds of libtards that their top tier lawyers are now tweeting about starting a literal revolution in Virginia because they lost a court case on procedural grounds. The irony, of course, is that Mark's revolution would immediately devolve into a civil war, and lawyers like himself would automatically become completely pointless. Are you going to pick up your rifle and fight on the front lines? I don't think so. So looks like things are coming to a nice smooth head if you take a look at what's going on with some of these election questions. Again, here's Mississippi is going to do their redistricting. The U.S. Court of Appeals has just unanimously removed a block on Mississippi, redrawing their maps. And some pretty cool stuff is going to happen as a result of that. Let me get it for you. I'll lose a friend and someone I know as a result of this. I got to try and get an interview with him soon. But this happening in Mississippi, and simultaneous, another big announcement for Mississippi yesterday on Joe Rogan Experience. Gad Sad, I think it's his 10th time on the show. I think he goes just about every year. A Montrealer. I think he's the most visited guest ever on Joe Rogan, something like that. So he's leaving Montreal, he's leaving Canada, and he's moving to Mississippi for 2 years. He's taking 2-year sabbatical from his college year and is moving to Mississippi. So not only are they getting their maps in Mississippi, they're getting GADSAT. What a loss for Montreal. What a loss. He's someone I've run into and I've met and spoken with a few times here in the city. I've been trying to get an interview with him. I'm going to email him today and see if I can do it, and see if he'll has time before he leaves. We'll find out. But it gets even worse for Democrats. It's not just Mississippi. State of Tennessee, after all the tomfoolery last week when they did their redistricting, now Democrats totally kicked out of the caucus. Sorry, totally kicked out of committees and stuff after their work. So notice has just been given to Democrats in the Tennessee House that all members of the Democrat caucus are being removed from all standing committees and subcommittees as a result of their behavior in the State House during the redistricting debates last week, which included setting fires inside the Capitol and attacking law enforcement. In the state of Tennessee, political terrorism will not be tolerated. National Republicans take note. This is how you exercise power. Happening all across, and indeed, that's why I think this midterm season is the actual literal end. They're not going to make it. The Democrat Party is toast for likely ever. Whatever comes out of them after this, I'm not sure. You want two parties in America. I don't know if they'll still be called Democrats. There might still be some branding that they're able to keep, but that looks like the end. So there you go. That's what's up. What are folks saying in the chat here? Terrence says, you're the best. Really enjoying today's show. Well, thanks, Terrence. I appreciate it. Zingers. All we ever really needed was a great rock band to burn their words and ideas down. Alas, well, they got rid of rock and roll for that reason. How did Pratt misusing the term bass backwards? Maybe he will. He doesn't miss much. It's in his pocket for a later date. He'll be instantly more wealthy than most Canadians. I'm pretty sure they gave him a good deal over at Ole Miss. I checked it. I never even looked at the campus at Ole Miss before. He made a nice joke too that he was moving to Oxford, and then it was only in the second tweet that he found out Oxford is where Ole Miss is in Mississippi. Then he was moving to Oxford, Mississippi. I was like, oh fuck, he's moving to Oxford, England. He's gonna hate that. It's worse than Montreal when it comes to woke bullshit. And so when you kept reading his thread, you found out that it was actually Oxford, Mississippi, which I approve of. That's pretty down there, though. Boy, that's south of Tennessee. South of Tennessee. I've never been in the South like that. I've been on the coast over in South Carolina and Georgia, but not in that real Alabama, all that stuff. I've never been there. I would like to go. Arkansas, Alabama, all these places. I've never been. One day. I want to do the Florida Panhandle and the true South, going up from the Jacksonville side. And then I've only ever driven from Jacksonville and I stopped for barbecue in South Carolina and stuff like that. But I have very little experience in the Southern United States besides Florida, which is not the South. It's something else. Geographically South, of course, but not Dixie. I have very little experience in Dixie, let's say. But I was my whole life as one of these Northerners, completely from Yankee areas and completely grew up within that sort of aristocratic, Ivy League-ish type Eastern North American world. I never, ever, ever had prejudice and always believed all of that dumb South stuff was stupid. And I always had a great interest to go to the South. And personally, that area can be somewhat scary. That's what people say. Yeah, that's what people say. Still, I would like to see it. And like I said, I never bought into the South is so backwards stuff. Panhandle is cool. Yeah, I would like to try the Panhandle. I heard their beaches are great. That's what people say. Great show again, says Seabird. Oh, there's Hank. I was wondering where Hank was. Let me bring old Hank on, everybody. Hank is here to tee up the show. How you doing, Hank?
Morning, but I made it. How are you guys doing this morning?
Doing great, man. Doing great. We had a great show. We had a great time teeing up the China visit. All the CEOs.
A lot of stuff with China going on right
There's
now.
going to be a Bitcoin announcement. I think you're going to
You
hear
do?
China. Yeah, I used today. I used for my, because I make an AI thumbnail every day.
Yeah.
For the show. Today I did Back to the Future, but he was in China, and so my headline was Back to China's Bitcoin Future. And,
oh, nice.
Yeah, because we'll know what the deal is if there's Bitcoin in it. If it's just this little carve out thing, I don't think that's it though. I think they're going full schematic system, and that's why all of these participants from private finance and industry were there.
Oh yeah, he brought quite the group there. It's like 17 tech CEOs,
which is great. That's peace right there, right?
Yeah.
That's why my frame for Iran was always that there was no risk of escalation, and that it was just a regional thing because China and Russia did not escalate, and they didn't escalate because of this meeting, because they're aligning on a new financial system, more or less. And
I hope so.
We hope so.
I'd be curious. So there's a lot of other stuff, and we'll be talking about it on the show in just a bit with China. I mean, we had that thing out of Arcadia with the mayor who is like deep state China. Who
there's
got
rumors.
arrested.
Yeah, there's rumors.
She came out and admitted it, I think. Didn't she? That the Arcadia mayor.
No, she admitted it.
Yeah, she admitted it.
Yeah, no.
And then the Bucks owner.
But there are rumors that she's being
Yeah.
traded.
Oh.
She's going to be sent back to China so that we get Jimmy Lai out of jail. Jimmy Lai Jimmy Lai was the Hong Kong guy who, when he was arrested after the 2019 protests in Hong Kong, he had something called Apple Daily News. It was a newspaper. And the day he was arrested, they shut down Apple Daily News too, but they released one more issue, which was just a front page with the Bitcoin logo.
Oh,
and
okay. The plot thickens. Exciting. All right. Well, we'll dive into this a little bit more on Roxham TV News in a bit. I'll let you and yours finish up there, but I'll see you in just a bit, Nolan.
See you, my man.
Cool.
Okay, folks, there you go. We're out of here. Highly recommend the Coldwater Springs in Florida. Ponce de Leon was looking for the fabled fountain of youth. The water is invigorating and feels energized. Gators hate cold water, so no fear. Yeah, that's what I would like. I hate gators too, so would love to go down there. I guess that's what's scary about it, right? I wanted to read this too from Strength Divinity here saying, oh, there's a few of them. Way better vibes this time. Sure are. It says Bitcoin, hey Zeus, Bitcoin, hey Zeus. Xi hosting Trump at the Temple of Heaven, once occupied by Anglo-French forces that began China's humiliation, signals our sovereignist alliance dismantling the city's financial grift. Thanks for that. I think you're right. I think that is, I didn't know about the Temple of Heaven. I've been to the Temple of Heaven, but didn't know that it was about that. And I knew a bit about the Boxer Revolution and what the French and Anglos did for that humiliation piece, but very interesting take. Thanks for that. Xi 100% knows what's up in Iran. They pacified Xinjiang after the 2009 train station attacks when China began removing Twitter, Google, YouTube, Facebook, and started their own domestication. Iran is getting the Xinjiang treatment. Exactly. So there you go, folks. Thanks for all the comments. I'm going to be over there. The whole Floribama coastline is exploding. People call it Redneck Riviera. Yeah, that's what I want to see. I want to see the Redneck Riviera. Okay, folks, I'm going to head over to Hank's show. Thanks, everyone, for coming. You're about to see the thanks for watching screen, but I want to tell you thanks for watching. Come on over and see me on Hank's show after this. Peace, everyone.